All right. Should be live. We'll wait for score in here. Let me make sure my mic is at least unmuted. All right, let me see. Are we here? Are we live yet? Yes, no, maybe so. Come on, restream. Brother, man, geez Louise, it's been like a minute now. It's been a solid 50 seconds. There we go, sweet. Heck yeah. All right, cool. Sheets might be joining me. Might not. That is why the headset is on, because he might show up. Let me just finish some things over here as I completely kill time as you guys wander in. I know NFL is a pretty big deal, so I won't keep you too long. Bobby Sheets and Rhodey will be live at the top of the hour talking the NFL slate today. Let me just finish getting these practice laps at least somewhat in line. As I kill time here, feel free to drop any questions or anything you may have in the comments. I do have a question going into this stream talking about the RFK drivers and how I view them. I'm also just trying to kill a little bit more time to get this squared away. I recently had a neighbor, so I am very fortunate. I have a really, really comfortable apartment, really nice apartment that's very, very quiet. So, the quietest thing ever. And in an area near Houston, that is very hard to come by. I don't got to worry about my vehicle being on blocks when I come out. I got a great parking spot. This place is amazing. My downstairs neighbor just moved in, and she's got a dog, and that dog has been yapping nonstop for like the past 5 days, and uh, that's not fun at all. Thankfully, it seems just being very just yelling at her to shut the dog up helped a ton this morning. So that's what I've been up to. Let's go ahead and share the stream, or the window rather. Close out it. Let me make sure Steam doesn't pop up here. And cool. All right, so when we're looking at this race here, yet again, let me check one thing in Discord really fast. I'll start with Brixie's question actually in Discord. Actually, we'll talk practice first, and then I'll talk about that first and foremost. So everybody falls in line in practice, and yet again, two different groups. Oh my God, what are the track states doing? What is this? What is that? But like, I mean, realistically, like all the guys down here are slow for a reason. They qualify poorly, or they had an issue. I mean, Kyle runs long. Let's go ahead and take this 145 off up here. There we go. But we can see like who actually has speed. Now Jones queued very well, went to pit lane early. Very, very weird from Jones to show this type of speed just in practice or at an in-meet track that isn't Darlington. So like first and foremost, that's kind of a red flag when you see an outlier of their practice speed based on like what they normally should do. That's usually not a good thing. Oops, let me get this here. Sorry. As I said, the practice speed from Jones like that, we typically don't see them running that well. I'm just showing this because I didn't have it up. I mean, the guys down here are down here for a reason. They either ran long like Kyle Busch or Logano, or they're just like flat out slow. Like the disconnect between like Nemechek, right? Like Nemechek and Johnson are both down here and just slow as molasses, like completely in just a different series. And then you have like Jones coming out of nowhere, right? With a much higher average. And I pit a lot, but like typically this is any ran long. Like this is just a weird practice from Jones. Like this is like, oh man, red flags kind of concerning. Ty Dillon runs like no laps if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, way less than everybody else. That's why he's up here. But you start looking at the guys who are like going to compete. Okay, so even with two different groups, whatever the case may be, like the Hendrick guys ran, more than like half the laps that most people do. And they're quite fast. Okay, now you could argue if they run longer, they might be in more 160s, but still, like I'm not seeing anything too out of the ordinary. We look at Hemrick, if ands or buts, whatever. Nothing too staggering outside of the Jones speed out of nowhere. Um, Kyle Busch like slower than what he probably should be, especially seeing how he just drops off in practice very fast. Like that's a bit of a concern. But that's just me kind of glazing over the practice laps. Okay. Yet again, I use recent form and stuff as a much more important skill level. Now, yet again, 10 laps, separated between the two groups, whatever the case may be. But like we're not seeing anything too out of the ordinary here. Like you can't fake speed at a track like this. Now, Kansas is approaching the state that old Atlanta was at. I don't exactly remember what year it was. Not before not like, oh, we need to repave Kansas, but the this track, and you've noticed it in the Xfinity series and other stuff as well. This track is slowly getting past its prime, right? I think we can argue from like 2000, probably 17 to like probably you know last year or whatever. It probably put on good racing, but now we're at a fact to where the tire wear is eclipsing the amount of good like racing that can provide. Okay, now this is leaning very much heavily into a high wear racetrack, to where that is the main concern here, and not necessarily what the cars can do. Who's able to maintain speed throughout a long run? Who's able to actually keep that up? So when I'm looking at practice laps at Kansas, for example, I am not necessarily concerned about how I'm not concerned about the average per se, but I'm concerned about the visual, like who's actually dropping off and who's actually able to carry speed. That's why like the Stenhouse was like really weird, because we're looking for that. That's why the Jones was strange. Uh, where's Jones at? Like the Jones was strange. My man, I was just looking at Jones anyway. That's why like the Jones is weird. Like we shouldn't see that from a backmarker team. Um, and so on and so forth. And so like today is gonna be, in my opinion, not a very racy type of race. I mean they're gonna be close because these cars punch such a hole, just a huge hole in the wall, or in the air. But in terms of like actual good racing, I think it's gonna be very, very difficult for anybody to actually pass. And I think they're gonna spread out pretty quick at this race. Okay, so where are we at here? I need to recent form so I can see it, because it's behind my camera. So entering this race, if we just go down the list of where people are at, we see the consistency that Bell and a lot of these drivers are. Um, I mean, maybe I was gonna say having or not having. Um, and we have Bell, who's kind of been the most consistent of the Joe Gibbs cars. And I just want to point out, just right off the bat, I think the plays for the day, or the guys who are going to compete to win the race today: Bell, Gibbs, Reddick, Larson. I would honestly be shocked if one of those four do not win the race. If I had to put it in terms of I've said those four, I think the favorites today are Reddick, Larson, Bell, and Gibbs in that order. And if anything, it's those top three, and if anything, it's those top two. I think Reddick and Larson are probably the best plays on the slate in terms of leading laps and stuff. I think it's very small between these four drivers of who is the best and who isn't. But the fact that Larson gives us quite a lot of place differential, same thing with Reddick. That those are like my favorites for winning the race, competing for laps, et cetera, et cetera. But when we look at Bell, this is where Bell is at. When we look at Gibbs, I mean, Gibbs at 92, like we got to remember that, months ago, start the year off, everybody went Google Gaga over Gibbs. Everybody's wanting to play him for seeing his first win, et cetera, et cetera. And I think this is a race to where, but yet again, I mentioned he's my fourth favorite, of guys who can win the race. And in terms of that, I don't believe all four of these guys will get laps led or fast laps, or even consider, or even like start pushing people in and out of being optimal. I think of just two of these guys. Gibbs is probably the least likely, but he's 92, and his speeds of these tracks have not been that drastically horrible. This is a case where I don't mind looking more so at the spring race, just because it's only removing Michigan. It's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 races away from this one here in terms of intermediates and everything. because we've been at short tracks and road courses for like last month, right? Also, next week, Talladega. Okay, big focus for me to end the year. Okay, that's just what it is straight up. I'm playing 20 in the trucks, 20 in the Xfinity, and hopefully we can do 20 in the Cup by the end of those two first races. That is the main focus at this point in the year is Talladega. So I just want to also point that out because that's next week. I would advise you to just put money in that. We look at Kyle Busch, and yes, he had his great run at the end of Darlington, but that was more so based on circumstance and what he was able to get late in that race. For the most part, he's been like an eighth place best car, eighth, seventh best car. Yet again, I don't really see anything too particular from practice that's like super concerning. I mean, this fall off is pretty worrisome. The fact that we're like seriously dropping off a cliff here when we're looking at guys who are running long now. Yet again, this is better than, for example, say Chastain, say what Jones is running into. But just based on what we've seen in races from him, I don't see him eclipsing the main favorites in this race. So, like, not a big Kyle Busch fan. As I said, I think Reddick and Larson are probably your two favorite guys. We look at Kansas being arguably 23XI's best track. Okay, now I don't exactly know what. When we look at that microcosm, I don't exactly understand why or how it is that way with Larson, not Larson, with Busch, Reddick, and Bubba Wallace having a win at this track, but he's at 10-5. I mean, Reddick and Larson, I think, are the two favorites to win. When we look at the highest wear racetracks that we've been at this year, just on this, we look at Vegas, Kansas, Darlington, and the second Darlington race. I mean, it's been Larson and Reddick there. Larson and Reddick 1-2 at Vegas. Kansas, I mean, holy shit, Larson won that too. Like it's Larson and Reddick. I understand he ran into a situation here, but those are the two favorite guys here. I think you're prioritizing those two individuals, or at least one of them, in most lineups. That makes it very difficult for me to play like Logano because I don't see him leading laps. I don't see him doing anything in this race. Sorry that I'm still coughing. I don't know if I got the COVID or what. I doubt I did because COVID doesn't normally feel this way. But this is all from that sickness, that fever that I had like last Sunday or whatever. And I didn't cough when I was sick. I just have the cough now. Dude, Byron just has not been able to materialize anything in these races. This has been frustrating. I have played Byron in every one of these races, and he cannot eclipse his teammate or whoever is the best car. It is insane that he has had the arguably, certainly Charlotte second best at times. In these races, he'll be like the fourth, third driver in a run, in a race. He just cannot get the lead. He just cannot run away with this race. And I just can't play Byron here. Okay. This entire year, it's been, I went at least, 10 little percent of Byron or whatever. Like, I just can't do it. I can't see it because I'm playing a lot of lineups today. Yet again, I'm playing Talladega next week. I just can't play Byron. Okay. He's going to run fifth all day. I just don't think he gets the lead. Okay. That's what it comes down to. I'm probably not going to get to Byron. When we look at Blaney, okay, not playing Blaney. I don't see any real thing to truly focus on him now. Fourth best 15. Like, this is good to see, but still, like, track condition, whatever. Dude, the Hendrick guys are fast, man. Like, when we're looking at them in relative into what these guys are doing, okay, we see that we basically gain a 10th every 10 laps for Blaney. And when we look at it's actually not that, it's not that too drastic of a change. It's kind of similar. Blaney might be closer than the practice speeds dictate, but even still, I mean, we're not looking at this because, Truex wrecked him on lap 2 at Darlington, but still, Kansas earlier, Las Vegas earlier, Darlington earlier. Like, I just don't see the Blaney speed that I would want to see from him at 98, starting 7th. Not going to do it. Hamlin. Now, from a selfish point of view, I think for the most entertaining Talladega race, we need Hamlin to run into an issue, because if Hamlin has to King Kong his way at Talladega, that's going to be a great show. Okay, if he has to King Kong his way at the Roval, going to be a great show for television. He's 11,000. Most consistent driver this year on intermediate tracks, all top fives in terms of speed. We look at practice, okay? Going in, making adjustments, and runs his 10 lap, brings her in, makes adjustment, runs another 5, brings her in, and like this fall off isn't bad. Like this is what you ideally want to see versus like we're not seeing any true red here. Ran 30 laps in practice, like that's good to see. I don't have a real hit against Hamlin. I just think Reddick's a better play for $500 cheaper. And when we're trying to nail the lap leader, I think Bell, Reddick, Larson are the favorites for that. Hamlin would be, down the line. I'm probably not going to be on Hamlin today, just based on a salary constraint and a straight up projection base, or a straight up on projections, because like I have Hamlin for like 55 points today, right? Like that's right at value, but I have Bell for more, I have Reddick for more, I have Larson for more. Like Hamlin is probably going to fall through the cracks for me personally. Not playing Briscoe, just no reason. I'm not playing Suarez. Like, yet again, outlier. Like, what? What is going on here? Flying fast, short run speed. Just goes incredibly, like, falls off a cliff. Like, this is typically not what you want to see. Okay, when we look at the best laps in practice, you see Suarez and Chastain had the second best laps in practice. Okay, that's worrisome. You never want to just see teams who aren't competing for wins or anything getting a fast lap out of nowhere, right? And then at least he backs it up in Q, like that. Big concern. I'm really concerned about Suarez's race pace and long run speed um, in this race. Okay, so like I'm not playing Larson, or I'm not playing Suarez. We see Larson. I don't need to say anything else on Larson. We know where he's at. We see Bubba Wallace here, 9,000, needs 45 to pay it off. Now, uh, underperforming, whether it's based on him, the pit road crew, or the pit crew, um, whatever. Like I just haven't seen it from Bubba, and when we're looking at a race to where, hold on, we're looking at a race from wow. We look at a race to where, dude, it's got even worse. What? Hold on. Okay, that's way better. We look at where Bubba is in pricing compared to the other plays on the slate of the RFK, the Chastain, the Chase Elliott, et cetera, et cetera. Like I just don't see Bubba even like finishing in the top 14 today in terms of fantasy points. I just don't see it. Carson above where now we will probably see an increase in Spire just in general. Okay, we no longer have a guy holding the team down. Okay, Haley, Zane Smith, Hocevar. I would personally see a more consistent uptick in the performances of these cars. Now, Hocevar and Smith have already been doing that, and them starting 14 to 15 shows that they have pretty good team. Rather has pretty good speed. Main issue comes from is what is Hocevar able to do in terms of fantasy day? Okay, because we look at where Hocevar is at. I gave him like 14th, right? And that's 31 points. Dude, it's hard for me to see him really pushing the top 10. I'm not saying he's good. I think that's way more likely. And when we look at a fantasy aspect, like 66 and 54, dude, very easily could be deciding a GPP by taking Smith or Hocevar at these prices at the starting position. I think they personally underperform in value. Uh, so I will probably not be on that today, but I'll be honest, I would be playing quite a lot of Hocevar and Smith if they started like 21st and 22nd. the fact that they are right around where I think they're going to finish really kind of hurts them in DFS. And so I'm not playing Hocevar and Smith based on that. We look at Jones, same thing, starting very much where his ceiling should be at 63. Not going to do it for me. We look at Cindric, and yet again, like we kind of get a dead range here between these guys here from 14 to 18. Normally, we have good drivers starting here, good teams, top teams, whatever. We don't have that kind of a dead range. I don't really see a reason to, and we're eliminating a lot of the 6K range here. Sure you have Haley, sure you have Barry, sure you have Gillen and stuff, but it's these guys here versus the direct Priest, Todd Gill, and Hemrick plays down here at a place to where we're gonna have guys run long, we're gonna have teams pit somewhat later, whether it be 3, 4, 8 laps later. We know Hemrick's gonna run long. We know front row's gonna run long. I just don't see a reason to play Hocevar, Smith, Jones, Citric, or Stenhouse today. Um, outside of truly diversifying. Uh, thanks, Jason. Outside of truly diversifying your lineups and stuff. Truex 95, goddamn, that's expensive. Just can't do it. Not because of the disappointing or the disappointments that we've seen, but at this point, now we kind of run into the question that Bricksky asked me in Discord regarding the RFK guys, and I would throw Truex and Chase Elliott in this conversation. So when we look at Truex, Chastain, we look at Busher, Keselowski, we look at Elliott. Okay, let me get this off here. We look at these 5 guys, and their ranges of outcomes in terms of fantasy are pretty similar. I know we're at Truex right now, but let's jump to Elliott, right? Okay, we'll keep these guys highlighted really fast so we can visually see them. We look at Elliott. Okay, Elliott has been, when we looking at this, he's been pretty bad. Okay, yes, start of the year off, 10th best car. We've seen a fall off that is when we start seeing more issues consistently like this that isn't necessarily from DNFs being wrecked out, like you see Truex and Lane down here, but like this is just straight up like, oh, this race didn't play out, oh, this happened here or whatever. I could be mistaken, but let me see where he started at Darlington this year. Let's take a quick gander really fast. Because I feel like he was possibly in a very similar position at Darlington. Let's see. He started 20th under qualified bad. From a Hendrick perspective now, he didn't take a key lap or whatever, started last. But man, 10,000 for Elliott. Baseline projection is right at 50 points straight up. Okay. But dude, I think Elliott's a trap play today, man. I really do. I don't want to sacrifice one of the 2 lap leaders. I don't think Elliott outscores the 2 lap leaders in this race unless they wreck out, right? But that is like those 3 guys, realistically, Bell, Reddick, Larson, okay? 2 of those I would envision being optimal. I don't see Elliott eclipsing the top 2 of those scores, okay? And at 10.5 or 10,000, that's hindering a lot of your lineup. As I said, we're not using a lot of 6K range outside of, Gill and Priest, which we haven't gotten there yet. But, dude, I would be hesitant on playing Elliott today. Even doing 20 lines, I'd probably be underweight on Elliott. I don't think Elliott has the real speed to really pay that off because, that 50 comes from like a 16th, 17th place finish, right? He does 11th, and we might see him starting to push Reddick or Larson out, but I just don't see it. I really don't. Um, so personally, I would probably advise being underweight on Elliott today. I really would, because I've seen stuff that worries me. Now, yet again, he finished 11th at Darlington, right? We had 17 lap run. We had a lot of yellows, okay, in this race, and that helped him because straight up he was 18th best. But I'm very very concerned about Elliott. I really am. Like I don't think Elliott's a slam dunk play at all. I think there's a lot of stuff to be worried about with Chase Elliott today. So going back to Truex, kind of the same realm. Okay, at the price tag, we're having to sacrifice certain things in the lineup. I think Truex does get a win before the year's over. Ah, man, I just I don't think it's today. This was wildly disappointing. I would have loved to see what happened at Darlington if he would have stayed in the race. But from recent stuff, we're seeing that like he's probably going to be like eighth, ninth, not going to get the lead today. Elliott and Truex, I think for their price tags, I think they're bad plays. Okay, so we're now at Chastain, and I think Chastain at his price tag is a pretty awesome play. Okay, the fact that we have Bowman at 8,000, starting 12th with a car that can compete today. We have Chastain as well, which just based on what he is typically doing in these races at 78, like Chastain's mispriced. Okay, so if you're thinking of, oh, I want to play Elliott, oh, I want to play Truex, I mean, price tag is going to show that like you should probably just play Chastain. Offers place differential, top 10 car, real chance he's going to get crazy on strategy. Then you can argue that you might be concerned about the long run speed, which is certainly something to worry about here. Um, but 78, I'm perfectly fine with that. We look at McDowell, same thing, 7,000. Like we know McDowell and front row like trying to run long and get off strategy. Same thing with colleague. Now yet again, two. Now you might say it's counterproductive because I just said the same thing with Elliott, but like two, like trending downward. Okay, no lie, but like his speed at Kansas earlier in the year, his speed at Darlington. Wish he would have ran better at the fall Darlington race, but like McDowell 7,000 certainly not bad. Okay, we look at Dillon. I have no interest in Austin Dillon. Haley's an interesting one. If you fully believe that we're going to see a pretty big improvement, which I don't know if it's going to happen right off the bat. Now it already did, starting 23rd. 64. That's a tough sell. If you're doing this, you're playing it because of the car, not necessarily Haley, because first race here and everything. Also, secondly, I guess a lot of people just haven't realized that like they wanted Haley for a while, but when Rick Ware signed Haley, one of their sponsors was they had a like stipulation or whatever in the contract that Haley would be the sponsor for 2 years at Rick Ware. So the reason why this just happened right now is because of a lawsuit, but from that sponsor to Rick Ware for basically breaking contract and training Haley over to Spire. That's why it had happened the way it did, kind of out of nowhere. They were just waiting for the lawsuit to clear. And that since probably not going to be on Haley today, I think there's better plays from $1 range. From there, Gregson probably not going to get there. Okay, but now we're at Busher. Now we're at Keselowski. Okay, pretty much in the best place you would want them to be. Okay, side by side, same pricing. You can probably play these two together and not be concerned about it. This is how I see this race playing out. One lap leader. Let me back it up. Let me talk about how Busher and Keselowski work together. One lap leader. Larson, Reddick, Bell, whatever. Optimal lineup, but one lap leader. We'll run away with the race. Both RFK guys optimal. Chase Elliott most likely optimal. And Priest and Gilliland. Like that is how I would play Busher and Keselowski together is with a one lap lead type of race or build rather. Because if you're not doing that, and say you do with Larson Reddick, and you double play Keselowski and Bush, you're having to put at the bottom, which is I don't really want to double punt at Kansas, in both 5K or 2 of the 6K, whatever. I mean, when we're looking at these guys specifically, we'll look at Brad. This is where Brad is, and this is where Busher is. It's really a coin flip. Brad is probably the better play, $200 cheaper, starting one place farther back, a little bit more consistent in terms of where he's finished. But I don't really foresee this race having somebody that you just have to lock in or have to be overweight on. I think ownership should probably be spread out between these place differential guys in the back, the people up front. I think it should be a pretty open slate. I don't know if we're going to see a lot of duplication at all. Not playing LaJoy. Let's clear these guys out. Not playing LaJoy. Burton, whatever. Barry 69, like this is the guy. This and Gillen are the two people that I would consider in the 6K range. Hemrick, for the case that they run long, which they're going to run long anyway. It's just, do they get a yellow when they need it? Because that can bring Hemrick to being on lead lap competing for like a top 25 finish. 53, like third or fourth cheapest guy that you're actually considering. Like that's, I'm not too bad. I'm not too upset about that. Not playing Nemechek. Absolute horrible speed, unfortunate luck, and I just don't want to waste my time with that. Ty Dillon, if you're considering Ty Dillon, I think you just go to Hemrick unless you need the money. Gillen, very, very up and down depending on what track it is. Like this is just like whatever, I mean, we see where he's at in terms of speed. We see the upside in this situation, but 33rd, $6,000, very easy to get to, safe floor. I don't think he's going to necessarily kill the lineup. Like if Gillen underperforms and finishes 28th, the lineup isn't dead for that. It's not going to take down a contest, but it's not dead. I'd much rather go him than have a fucking sweat all day for like if Zane Smith's going to stay 15th. Last Rick Ware cheat code, possibly 5,100 if you need the salary and you're paying up for so many expensive guys. I have no issue with it. I'm not playing Jimmy Johnson, like no reason to. No reason to play Yaley. We look at Priest and we look at just the upside that he's had in these races. Okay, we look at where Priest, like, not even his finishing position, but like, let's just think of how he's been scoring in these races. Okay, now yet again, some of these were at short tracks, some of these were at road course and stuff. But you look at the Darlington race here. Okay, Priest starts 30th, finishes 12th. Like that's not bad. Okay. We look at Michigan, starts 26th, finishes 11th. Not bad. You can't really fake that stuff. Okay. We look at the Brickyard, 31st to 29th. Like not bad. Gaining positions. Okay. We're not killing the lineup. We look at Nashville. I don't even have Nashville on here like a dumbass. We look at Nashville and 22nd to 4th. We look at, Coca-Cola. He had the 29th best car, brings it home 26. Darlington, early in the year, brings it home 17th after running 25th or having the 25th best car. We look at Dover, finishes 28th at Dover after having arguably the worst car in the field. My bad. That is not Dover. That is Richmond. Dover finished 37th. My bad. Dude, I got a feeling in my plums that like Priest is gonna finish way better than how he runs today. Starting dead last, realistically, like okay, Elliott, whatever. Start 30. I think Priest is a great play, man. I think Gillen's a great play. I think if there's people you want to build around, it's not in the mid range, it's not in the high range. It's probably Priest and Gillen. That's where I'm at. I'm probably gonna just have Priest in every lineup today. I like the floor. I like what he offers. I like that he typically finishes way better than where he runs in these races. I think Priest is a pretty good play. We've talked about Elliott. And so now that we've like kind of gone through all the drivers and stuff, and we have, 20-ish minutes left before they go live at the top of the hour to talk NFL. But if you guys have any specific questions or anything you want me to talk about, I will do that. But today, I think it's where I think these guys are your priority that you're trying to fit in. I think you want 2 of these guys. If you're taking one, then by default you have to take Elliott, and that's kind of where we're at. I think the pool is actually pretty small today. Okay, when you look at guys that can hit value realistically, that don't need a ton of help, it would probably be the people in this range. Yeah, I mean, it's probably like this. This is the people that I realistically see fighting for. And I mean, clearly top 20 in DFS scoring, but the guys who are probably going to be breaking down, who will be fighting to be a top 12 scorer at the end of the day, or value play, or top 12 in value rather. So like, I don't really see like reasons like, oh, let me play Dylan, let me play Haley, let me play, these, like, I just don't see the risk. I don't understand the risk here. This doesn't seem very, you know, doesn't seem like a smart move to be taking guys in this range here when you have. I mean, this isn't including like Gralla or anything or Hemrick, but like you have Gillen and Priest. In order for these guys to do well, you need probably both Gillen and Priest to fail, and Hemrick, Nemechek, fuck, even Johnson to not eclipse him in points. And so, I think this is the pool you're at. I think that's where we're at here. See what you guys are saying. If there's anything we want to talk, thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. I typically don't like doing. Well, what I don't like listening to is when it's like a driver by driver breakdown by salary, like that. You need the context of where they're starting, in my opinion. I don't. That's like the only thing that still irks me when I listen to contests, or when I listen to content, because it'll be like, all right, we'll do a driver by driver breakdown, and then it's like 10,000 first. Not like, we need context of where these guys are at. That's why, like, today, that's like, Elliott. These guys here, these guys are all in different price ranges, right? But build wise and outcome wise, like, these guys are all in the same range of outcomes. Okay. And if you talk about it in just like a salary range, it might like drive you to use certain guy, or like, I don't know. I'd rather break it down like that. Thank you, Brian, for the compliment on the shirt. Bowman, I think Bowman works in quite a lot of builds, and I like this consistency for Bowman. He needs 40 points to hit value. I think he could very easily do that on just fast laps alone. He doesn't need to completely run into the like top 6 or whatever. I think he could very easily hit it like 44 points and be a really, really good play today. Let's see what else. Bubba or Bowman for better finish in a survivor. Oh God. Bubba or Bowman. Let me look. Let's take a look. I will answer that. If you have to choose between Bowman and Bubba today, I would give the better finish to Bowman today. Talk about the run card. Well, luckily, Rod, you can go back and listen to it at 2x, because I talk about everybody. And or you can buy the projections. That's all I'm helping you out with Chastain. Same thing with you, Kyle. No offense, because I'm just about to end it here, so you guys can listen back. And we have plenty of time. Cup Series starts in 2 hours. Okay, it should. This is how. Here, pro tip for NFL. Okay, build your lineups an hour before. Okay, don't waste your time looking at NFL on Wednesday, on Friday, on Saturday. Build the lineups an hour before, and it's perfectly fine. It's that is how I would implore you to focus on NFL is build an hour before. Okay, so because then you have all the news, you have no variables in the air. We know whatever's going on. You don't have any pre uh thoughts or biases entering the week. Like I'm reserved to NFL contests. I have no clue what the salaries are even for any of the players today. Gonna wait an hour before lock and build lineups then. So the reason I'm saying this because you can go back and listen to this on 2x and be done in like 20 minutes, and then you can build your NASCAR lines and you can build your NFL lines and you'll be perfectly fine. Yet again, I think Reddick or Larson win this race. Bell would probably be third in that. Um, and that's where I'm at. Now this race, it's 267 laps. I think yet again, as we've seen this week, outside of Daniel Dye, ran into issues yesterday. If you're not cashing by the start of stage 2, I think you're not going to cash. I think you can very easily see how your day is going to go by stage 2. Realistic. I mean, outside of crashes and stuff like that. That's that should give you a good indicator of how much you care about this race. Like if you're not making money by the start of stage 2, I think you can just watch your stupid football. Let's see. I know, Kyle. I know. I got Bush finishing at I got him finishing 7th today. I got Kyle Bush for 7th. Because you look at where Kyle Bush is at. I gave him 7th. That's not too bad. We look at practice laps, speed. I mean, nothing too crazy out of the ordinary. I gave Kyle Bush like 7th today and stuff. And fantasy wise, he needs much more. But there's no real reason to like for me real fast. Like if I give Kyle Bush, I think I give him fast laps too. But like if I get Kyle Bush 7th, right? And with fast lap stuff, that's like 35 points. There's like no reason for me to waste time like project him for like 10th because like I bet he scored 27. Like he's unplayable at 35 points. So no real reason to project him for any worse if he's not already going to be viable at that point of view. And I do believe that's about all I have. I'll let you guys go ahead and go. I guess. Well, Kyle, you know what? I'll get you. Must plays. I think it's Brees. I like Chastain. I like Larson. I like Reddick. Those are probably the guys that I'd prioritize. Don't know how many I'll do with the same line. Actually, must plays, Kyle. Next week, Talladega. Just kick money down the road to next week at Talladega. Pay to start of the month, pay rent, and then throw everything else at Talladega. That is my must play advice. We got trucks, Xfinity, and a Cup at Talladega next weekend. That's the must play. That's where you put your money towards. Past that, I'll let you guys go. Thank you for hanging out with me. Best of luck, and I will see you guys. And I'll do a preview video this week for Talladega. Oddly enough, that's what I'll probably do a preview video for, like on Wednesday or whatever. Best of luck. I'll see you guys later, and yeah, bye bye. Thank you for watching.